What is up, Fit Life Queens? Welcome to today's training on mindful eating and being mindful throughout the holidays. So, welcome. Thank you guys so much for your time today. Coach Trista here with your Monday live training, giving you all the tips, all the tricks, all of the things to help you, not just on your fitness journey, but the whole health approach, right? This is more about not just working out and eating right. This is a holistic approach, right? It's so much more than having a good workout plan, having the perfect workout plan, having the perfect diet in order to, reach your health and fitness goals. So today I'm going to be talking about the holidays and how to practice mindful eating or being mindful when it comes to eating, maintaining control, and really avoiding that post holiday guilt or weight gain. Because as we all know, this is the time of the year where it is where this is the time of year where it's challenging to maintain your health and fitness goals. So I understand that this can be a really hard time of the year. Sorry, guys. I get distracted when I start letting people in. So welcome to today's training. I'll go ahead and start over. Why is it changing my view? Hold on. Thank you, guys. Let's go right there. Okay. All right. So today we are talking all about how to enjoy the holidays. How can we master our mindset during the holidays and practice mindful eating, maintaining control, and really avoiding the post holiday guilt or weight gain? So that's what today's live is all about. So, how this is going to work, you guys, we're going to go ahead. I'll kind of give you my tips and tricks. I try to keep this to about 15 minutes, and then I will leave a few minutes at the end for you to ask any questions that you have. And hi, Cami. You're always driving. You're always in the car when we have our calls. What's up, West? Nice to see you guys. It looks, is he wearing shorts? Oh, I thought he had shorts on. I'm like, I see you beanie. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining. All right. So we'll dive in. Welcome again, ladies and gentlemen. So honored to have you guys spending this next 15-20 minutes with me as we go over some tips on how to be mindful over the holidays. So I'm going to share a little story with you and let me know if this is something you feel like you can relate to. So for me and my fitness journey, when I began years and years ago, I had that tunnel vision. It was all or nothing. And this was one of the hardest things that I have overcome, I would say, with my health and fitness journey. And, for me, like I mentioned, it was all or nothing. So I was all in. I was 100% in, which meant, I was only eating clean, healthy foods. And when holidays came around, I really, really struggled. So I'm going to tell you a very specific story. And I honestly, now, like the story just came to my mind. I wasn't really sure which story I was going to share with you guys. But I don't know if I've ever shared this with anybody, to be completely honest. So when I first started I guess I was about 5 years into my journey in the health and fitness space and decided I wanted something I had always wanted to do was in do a competition, to do a bodybuilding competition. So I set out to do my very first figure competition. And I started in July, August timeframe. My first competition was in the like mid-October. And during this time frame, my husband was deployed to Afghanistan. And I remember going back home to enjoy the holidays with my family. And I can tell you, my family, I absolutely love them. But when I would go back home, and I realize this now, it was a trigger for me. I would always just stuff myself till I was absolutely miserable. I don't know what it was about going home. Maybe it was comfort. So as I'm actually talking through this, like I said, I've never actually shared this story. So I'm kind of working through some of these pieces now that I've done so much work on my past. So the story is I had just completed my very first ever bodybuilding competition, and did pretty good. I was like, oh my gosh, I got that taste of like almost victory. I got fourth place and I needed third place in order to make it to the national stage. And I was like, okay, I am in it. I am going to, like, I set up my next show. My next show was for the beginning of December. So I had about 6 weeks in between my two fitness shows. So it must have been, yeah. So my show was mid-October. So second show was already booked and I needed to stay on track, right? I had obviously big goals, and this is when I first started, and again it was completely all or nothing, but that's all I knew at that time frame. So I went home for Thanksgiving, and I remember allowing myself a little bit to splurge a little bit, and my parents were in the process of moving, so we were staying at my brother's house and I was sleeping on the couch, and I remember they had ordered pizza that week, so we already had our Thanksgiving meal, and I remember sneaking pizza in the middle of the night, and eating this pizza, and then I felt so guilty. So what did I get up? What did I do? I didn't purge because I this was during my binging and purging stage of my life. I actually didn't purge because probably there was too many people around. Like I couldn't get away from my family to hide it because I hid it during that time frame. But I remember going to the gym for hours the next day. So this must have been like a Friday or Saturday after Thanksgiving. But once I indulged a little bit, I could not stop. So then it was pizza, then it was like leftovers, then it was all my favorite treats and desserts that had been left over from Thanksgiving. And there was so much guilt, so much guilt. I came home and I worked my butt off, but I still, because I had given in just a little bit and had that taste of everything I had deprived myself from, I could not stop. I could not get back on track. So I came back home and I was doing everything I could to get this weight off because I'm like, I'm stepping on stage in a week. You guys, I had 1 week to be ready to step on stage. And I did not, I did still compete and I stepped on stage, but I was humiliated, to be honest, or at least I felt that way. I think I went to LA, so it was definitely a lot bigger show than Salt Lake City. And I think I placed like 13 out of 15 out of the top 15. And I was just mortified. And then that led to me going on a trip with my husband because during this year he was in Afghanistan. So for Christmas and New Year's, we went to Bali. So I was meeting him in Bali for like this amazing vacation. And that is when that first 40-pound regain happened. It was all during the holidays. So when I say, that restriction, all or nothing mindset can be, it can take you down a horrible rabbit hole. I have been there and it was the most miserable I had ever felt. And during that time frame, I didn't know what else to do besides plan another bodybuilding competition because I was like, wow, that's what got me the success the first time. So I learned the hard way, and that's why I'm here today. I did so many things wrong that I want to share with you guys my journey so that you don't go through this. So that's what we're going to do today. Today, I'm going to um, explain or kind of share with you some tips on how to mindfully navigate the holidays without fully restricting yourself and how to do this guilt free so that you can still stay in alignment with yourself and with your health and fitness goals. So why does eating mindfully matter? When I went back home, I to me, I was just so food focused that I couldn't really enjoy the time with my family. And I think that's the most important part about the holidays is to be present with your family, with your loved ones. And to me, back then, it was like, oh, what can I eat? Because I've restricted myself so long. Now all of my favorites are right in front of me. So learning how to define what that meaning is to you. So to me, again, it's being present with my family, being present with my loved ones. And I think a lot of times too, there is this pressure to eat everything at family gatherings because Aunt Sally made this amazing pumpkin pie or pecan pie, whatever it is. And, you feel like, or sometimes they do kind of pressure you or food shame you to eat all of these foods. But emotional eating can happen due to stress and nostalgia. And for me, I think a lot of it was um, just the restriction, but also the nostalgia of like having to eat all of these things. And then, of course, another holiday challenge is you are in an abundance of these high calorie holiday treats, right? You're surrounded by them. And so when you overeat these foods, you feel sluggish and you feel guilty. And that's where I was. And of course, um, restricting for so long and then eating in this massive calorie surplus led to gaining weight. And the average individual gains anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds over the holidays because it's one holiday after another, right? So we have things, or sorry, I guess we start at Halloween, really. We start at Halloween, we have Halloween parties, and then we move through November and we have Friendsgiving. We have maybe the multiple Thanksgivings, trying to visit both families. And then December is filled with holiday parties, Christmas Eve, Christmas, and then we top it off with New Year's. Um, so you can see that if you take every single one of these opportunities to overindulge, like I did, the weight can very easily come on. Now, of course, there's some things that we can do on the front end, which is something I really focus on with my clients, is resetting their metabolism, making sure they have the flexibility in their metabolism so that they can indulge a little bit without massive spikes in their weight. However, that's generally not the case. A lot of women are eating in a calorie deficit. They've been dieting for years. So when they get to these holidays and they do overindulge, they are going to see a huge spike in weight. But don't be alarmed because a lot of times, if you're just doing that one time, if you go back to your normal schedule, your normal routine, make sure you drink a little bit additional water, maybe do some resistance training, walk, move your body, that feels good, not in a punishing way, then you'll be able to get a few of those additional pounds right back off. So I'm going to share with you guys my mindful eating framework. And this is what I want you, or this is what helps me approach each of the holidays. Okay, let me start. So before the meal, I think it's really important to set the intention and decide how you want to feel after eating. How do you want to feel after this meal? Maybe it's satisfied but not overstuffed. Eating to a place where you're 80% full. I like to pre-game, I guess, before I go to this meal with a high protein snack. So this helps me when I get to the event. I avoid eating out of just hunger, right? And a lot of times when you go to these festive meals, they're going to be higher in calories, higher in sodium, higher in sugar. So you're already eating a little bit outside of your norm. So making sure that you can get your protein in beforehand, or when you get there, making sure that you're loading your plate with the protein-rich foods as well is going to help stabilize that blood sugar. So during the meal, this is where I feel like that presence is the most important part. I mentioned I think it was the last training that we did last Monday, where I love to use the one plate rule. This is my favorite thing. I feel like this really helps you indulge in everything, but it gives you a way to limit your intake so that you don't overeat and then go down that vicious guilt or shame cycle. So the one plate rule is where I get one plate and I put a little bit of everything that I want to eat on that plate. And it helps me feel like I'm partaking in all of the festivities. I'm getting to eat a little bit of everything. And I feel like I'm there and being present with my family. So I think it's important to, as you're eating, as you're loading your plate with food, just pause and assess, eat slowly, savor each bite, focus on the flavors and the textures. And when you can do that, you can really, it just helps you throughout the meal to make sure that you're not overeating. And I think it's important to sit there too. And as you're eating slowly and taking small bites and chewing your food thoroughly to help with digestion as well, that you do some sort of a mental check in with yourself. What does that check-in look like? Asking yourself, am I still hungry? Um, what how, like, what else do I feel like I need today? um but really focusing in on listening to your body and on those hunger cues. So after the meal, to really avoid that guilt, remind yourself that it is okay to indulge. One meal will not derail your progress. And I say that because I do think it is important to enjoy the holidays and be present. And if you do overindulge, remind yourself, okay, this is Thanksgiving, because we got Thanksgiving this week, right? And then I'm sure this is just practice. This is just practice for Christmas, Christmas Eve, all of the parties that are coming up throughout December. Think to yourself, how can I be 1% better today? Or sorry, 1% better next time versus how I responded on Thanksgiving. Okay. So that's one of the things I really focus on, just getting 1% better every single time. And then again, after the meal, this is a great time to do some sort of light movement. This could be, hey, let's all go for a walk as a family. Maybe not everybody wants to go, and that's okay. Just incorporate who wants to enjoy or be a part of, going on this some sort of light movement. So light movement is going to help aid in that digestion. It's going to help get things moving. It's going to help you feel better. And of course, when we eat higher sodium, sugar, carb-based meals, we get more sluggish. So if we can move, again, we can get that digestion moving in the right direction. So that is, how I mindfully face the meal. And then, again, just some practical holiday tips to think about. So plan ahead. If you know that, let's say, well, plan ahead. I'm thinking like bring a healthy dish, right? Something that I love to do is I have a sweet potato casserole that is phenomenal, and I will share the recipe with you guys because it is so good. And it's a healthier version, right? So I know, like, I'll have my turkey, I'll have some stuffing. My sweet potato casserole is something that I can overindulge in, and it makes me feel like I mean, it's like dessert. It's so dang good. So if I can have a little bit of that, maybe I'll have a little bit more of that versus maybe that stuffing or mashed potatoes or whatever that looks like for you guys. The day of, so just make sure that you're hydrating throughout the day, drinking plenty of water. And as long as we're hydrating ourselves, that will help us not mistake thirst for hunger. So if you are dehydrated, a lot of times you can mistake that cue for hunger. So making sure we're adequately hydrated is going to be very, very important. Dealing with the pressures. So this is where I think it's really important to just let your family members know how important your health is to you right now. And I feel like a lot of times when you tell your family these things, they'll respect you, they'll honor that, and they won't try and push some of those foods on you. So that will also kind of help with that obligatory eating, right? The obligation to eat because Aunt Sally is like, you have to eat my fresh pie. And you're like, "Ah, I'd rather have my sweet potato casserole because it's actually really, really good." And then I also think, and then this is how I navigate certain foods. Um, I like to say, let's say Aunt Sally brings this pie and she only makes it once a year. And it is hands down like the best pie you've ever had in your life. I always ask myself this question: is this food a hell yes or a hell no? And if it's like, hell yes, I do only get this one time a year, I'm going to make sure that that is on my one plate so that I can indulge in, this pie versus, oh, here's a great example: Aunt Sally's pie or store-bought cookies. Hell no versus a hell yes, right? So grandma's or Sally's pie is probably a hell yes versus the store-bought cookies, which might be good, but are they worth that extra indulgence? Probably not. So those are some of my tips to help you mindfully face the holidays. Do you guys have any questions? I know it's a lot. Oh, were you saying something, Cami? I saw you talking, but you're muted, so I don't know if you're talking to me or West. Oh, wait, I can't hear you. Hold on, is that me? There we go.
Oh,
Okay.
it's me. I plugged in the car, so then it doesn't listen.
Now
Now, do you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
Okay,
Can you
there
hear?
we go.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. What was your question, babe? West has a question because he's
Oh,
been listening.
well, welcome, West. What is
Yeah,
your
right on. I'll just say hi enough. In listening to you talk, it sounds like it's really important what you're mentally thinking about the food that you're eating. Like it might, if you're eating, Aunt Sally's favorite pie, but if you're doing that with guilt and shame energy, then that pie is going to be worse for your body than if you're like, this is a hell yes, it's on my one plate. I'm committing, I'm in, I'm
Mhm,
going for it. It's good. Like
mhm,
my energy is different eating that way. So that's what I'm hearing is that it's about what you're thinking is
mhm.
equally as important as about what you're actually eating. Is
A
that
hundred, a
fair to say?
100%. Because a lot of times if you feel that guilt, you're going to take some sort of action to enable that guilt, right? And so for me in the past, it was binging and purging or over exercising. It's like, how can I burn off all these calories that I just ate because I felt so much guilt and shame? But there's no need to feel that guilt and shame. We want to be able to enjoy these foods because, after all, I mean, I think the most important mindset and thing to think about when it comes to this journey is it is a lifestyle. We're not like, I don't want my women, anybody that I'm working with to feel like they're always on a diet, always on a needs diet. Because if we can get your metabolism and your hormones to a place that they're functioning more optimally, you won't have such massive weight spikes and drops based
Yeah.
on the way you eat. So I love that.
And what I'm hearing in it is if you're eating with the right mental energy, then you're going to create self value and self worth about it rather than beat yourself up and depreciate yourself and say, oh, now I'm not good enough and now I suck and I'm horrible and I'm all of these negative things. So that's what I was hearing. And I was like, all right, we got to mentally be aware of what we're doing. I like it. So
I
thank you.
love it. Well, thank you for just, reiterating how you heard and, digested what I said, because I think sometimes it's great to hear how somebody else hears it. And I love your interpretation because it is spot on. It's so perfect. I mean, this whole journey is about, it's not just about what you put in your body, it's about the mindset too. This is a holistic approach, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you get too wrapped up around the food, too wrapped up in the exercise, then it really negates a lot of the important sides or the important aspects of the mindset when it comes to just creating a healthy lifestyle in general. So, yes, it's very important.
Yeah. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you, West. Shelby, did you have any questions for me or Cami, did you have anything? Or that was just for West?
Well, I like that he's been able to be on two of the calls now because we've been in the car, and just to hear his perception of being a man. And I always think that he doesn't have any issues with food, but he does too because he chooses to work out really hard and not eat. He just doesn't think about food, and so it's cool to have us both learning about this together because he's
Mm-hmm.
learning about how I do it, which is more, women have different. I guess men probably. I just never thought of that. Like I always just think it's only us women who have the issues with food, right?
Right. Yeah, and it's
He always looks good, and
right.
but it doesn't mean he's healthy. Just
Mm-hmm.
he's thin. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. And I think that's where some of my past comes into play as well. And I know my story about like watching my mom struggle with her weight from the time she was young. So she's always struggled. However, my dad is super thin. And my dad, he literally eats a candy bar and milk every night before bed. Every night. And I'm like, Dad, um, like there's so much I need to work on with my dad. And I mean, obviously, I feel like people when they're ready, they're ready, and that's when they come and ask for a little bit of advice or help. But
Yeah.
he has always been thin. He's never had to worry about his weight at all. And my mom, on the other hand, has always struggled. And I know that it's been hard for her watching her struggle and eat a certain way where my dad can eat whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So, you know, and we think that men don't struggle with it because they're thinner. And I mean, their hormones, they do have some men can have hormonal issues, but it's not as it's way different for women, way different. But anyways, we won't go down that rabbit hole right now, but I love it. I think it's important to hear both sides. And then of course, having both of you on here is super important too, because then that just adds that extra layer of understanding and accountability and, you know, like being able to be in this journey or be on this journey together. So I love it.
Yeah, he's been super supportive. And we did have our first Friendsgiving on Saturday.
Mhm.
And so I spent a couple of hours like trying to decide like what to bring because they asked everyone to sign up. So I picked a dessert because I'm like, I want to eat dessert, but I also want it to be healthy. And
Mhm.
so I'm in this group called 7 Elements of Wellness. So it's like, this is 7 Elements of Wellness approved. And so it just has like all natural things. Like I made pecan bars, it was like pecan pie, but I
Yeah.
actually got to use things like maple syrup in it instead of carob syrup and
Mhm.
agave, and it was all gluten free too because I used all the nut flours, and I guarantee you it was very fatty because
Yes.
of the coconut oil and all the things that I used, but I also just had a very small piece and
Mhm.
was like totally satisfied with that. And there were some pretty um for me, I'm like nasty looking desserts because I'm like, oh, it was those store bought cookies that have the white fluff in the middle. You know, and I used to love all
Yeah.
that stuff, but now I know my body. If I eat that, I'm gonna get feeling sick. So
Mhm.
it was fun for me to go and just be like you said, like load up on the protein, and then I was full. But then I got to have a treat, and I knew I made it, and so
Mhm.
that and some fruit, and everything went great, and I felt so good when I came home.
I love that. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for sharing. And if you would you share that recipe with me?
Oh, sure. Yep.
I would love to share that. And actually, maybe I would love to make that. That sounds delicious.
Yeah, it just makes a square 8 by 8 pan, and
Oh yeah.
yeah. And I altered it a little because it didn't have any egg. And I'm a baker. My grandma made pies and they always has egg in there. So I put eggs in. So I'm like, I need more protein. And it turned out really good. So
Oh, awesome. Yes,
I
please
will
share.
I'll share it.
I'll have
Okay.
to add that to my like I said, I'll have to go find my sweet potato recipe. I'm not making it this year, at least not for Thanksgiving.
Mm.
I probably will for because we're hosting for Christmas, so I'll probably make it for
Oh,
Christmas.
yeah.
But yeah, we're on stuffing duty for this
Oh, okay.
Thanksgiving. So
Nice.
simple. I'm so excited. I don't have much work at all to do. But that's where I could also think about you know, like for me, I'm gonna think about what foods they're gonna have there, and I'll probably stick with like kind of like you said, make sure I'm getting my proteins. And
Yeah.
then I'm I'm not a huge like mashed potatoes and gravy and like all that stuff anyway. So um, I I don't know. Thanksgiving has become a lot easier for me. It
Yeah.
used to be like stuff yourself full and just lay on the couch and be like, I'm so tired. But
Yeah.
I don't like feeling that way anymore. So I don't kind of like you said, I want to feel good afterwards. So
Yeah.
I think that's really important too, listening to your body, really listening to your body. And you mentioned, you know, you used to like the white feeling in those cookies and like these certain store-bought cookies.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're full of processed preservative junk. And
Yeah.
you feel like crap afterwards. So
Yeah.
every now and then, if it is a hell yeah, then I will be like, hell yeah, I want to eat this. And I know I'm going to feel like crap, and that's okay because I
Yeah.
mentally have prepared myself for that moment. But generally, I want to feel good.
Yeah.
So I,
That's me with the crumble cookies because my daughter always buys those, but she cuts them in fours. But I just realized how much is even in 1/4 of those cookies. It is like not worth it. Like I'm
I
gonna have to go
know.
down to an eighth of a slice.
I know. And then it's literally a bite. I know those cookies are 800 calories just for one.
Yeah. Some of them are like 2,000. I was
Yeah,
looking at, yeah, oh my gosh. Because they load the toppings on now.
I know. They're insane.
Crazy. Yeah, so
Insane. So, well, thank you guys for
Thank
joining me. Let me know if I answered I know you had texted me about the challenge. So make sure you're in there.
Yes.
Or yeah, we do, most of that will be in the Facebook group for Project Zero.
Okay.
And I know you said you don't get on Facebook a lot. This is
I
more.
will though for that.
Okay.
I will
Okay.
do that.
All right, sounds good. And Shelby, this is for you. I know that, well, we have a Black Friday promotion going on to get inside the Fit Life Collective. So if you're interested, reach out to me. We're doing 50% off to be in the collective itself. So if you're interested, just let me know and I can shoot you over the information. But thank you so much for joining. It's good to see you, Shelby. I know it's been a while. So thank you so much for joining. Cami, Wes, thank you guys as well. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Happy Thanksgiving if I don't talk to you before then, but I know, Cami, I'll talk to you before then.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
See you next time. All right.
Bye.
Bye.